Hello, Ederson Oliveira here. This is another DNN monthly chats, and we are recording this on February 24th, 2018. It's a Saturday, it's 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I have the usual suspects. I have Joe with me, I have Scott with me, but I also have a good roster of guests here. I have Peter Donker, I have Declan Ward, and I have Mike Smeltzer as well. We're gonna get to each one of you guys in a bit, but how about we start from the event that just finished about 2 weeks ago. I know, about 2 weeks ago. So I don't intend to do a DNN Summit recap because a good recap was done by Clint and David Poindexter. I have the link here in front of us. If you want to see a detailed recap of DNN Summit, by all means, go for that. It's an hour and 10 minutes. But I want to highlight a few things that I saw, Joe saw, Scott saw there doing DNN Summit. Scott, do you want to give your highlight about the event? I mean, what was interesting for you? How was your session as well? Go for it.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed everything about the event, and the training I think went well. I haven't seen the feedback yet, but the direct feedback I got was really good. And one of the highlights for me as a developer, there's always interesting developer, like really geeky sessions, especially like Peter whenever he's doing a session, or someone like John Shealy, if you've ever seen his sessions. But unfortunately, neither of those guys were there. So, but luckily, Stefan Coleman did a really interesting session on F# and how you can. There's lots of different transpilers. You can use F# to code both backend and use the same code to produce React code, and using Fable and F#, and that was kind of mind expanding for me. It's just a language that I never really gave a thought about. So that was really interesting. So I don't know, Peter. I think Stefan got you on this one. So I can actually envision Peter enjoying that session just as much as I did.
It was about functional programming, and when you get into React and Redux, you're all into functional programming as well. So we might get back on that one.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna mention my highlights. It was a bit geeky, a bit technical as well, but not super technical. I really enjoyed the two presentations about how to do things for Alexa, and the fact that it's not that hard. There are quite a few steps to set things up, but two presentations during the Summit, both were geared towards developers that wanted to do something around Alexa, Amazon Alexa, the little gadget there. And I found both of them very, very interesting. And again, I'm tinkering with that right now. Joe, from your standpoint, Joe, you are one of the members of the organizing committee. What was the highlight?
Well, I think the highlight was that we all got to go to Denver and see each other. I mean, I agree with you, Scott. It was a terrific conference. I'll tell you a couple of highlights. Both a little bit of a surprise to me. Number one was that there was standing room only in Tracy Wittenfeller's session on liquid content. Not only standing room, but I had to sit in the back. I got tired of standing, so I was sitting on the floor for a while. Very nice presentation, and a lot of interest in liquid content. And I was surprised that this conference seemed to have a lot of people who are using Evoke, I think, as opposed to previous events. That's just kind of my guess from questions that were asked. The other surprise, and it goes along with that, was that I did a session called Health, which was basically, I was there and I had wrote some people to come in, some of them are sitting here, to answer questions And Anderson and I did a session like that 3 years ago or 4 years ago in West Palm Beach. And we got questions like, how do I install a skin? What's a skin? What's the difference between a skin and containers? This time, they were high-level questions that really dug into DNN and Evoke. So the surprise for me was the technical level of the questions that got asked, and I think we sort of got stumped on more than one question, and have been getting back to people ever since. So it was a great conference, a lot of people, a lot of new people. I think we had 5 continents represented in attendees. Yeah, look forward to seeing you all next year wherever we are. And I won't say anything about how much I'm looking forward to DNN Connect in about 3 months.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that in a second. But before we go there, and by the way, if anyone wants to jump to any point here, by all means, just raise your hand and say, "Hey, I want." But I'll go with this one for Scott. Scott, what is, because I heard a lot about liquid content, and not only from presenters, but from people asking questions to Sean, to Andy Treba. So Scott, what is the big deal with liquid content? Because I know that you work with that quite a lot. What is the big deal?
Well, I mean, it depends on what you're talking about, because a lot of the conversation we had was about pushing liquid content into the platform as a platform feature, and it's going to be a difficult thing, because originally it was billed as the start of this headless CMS concept, where your content is divorced from your CMS, and it even lives in a totally separate location. So in other words, it's not in the DNN database. So originally it was billed as this, great, it's amazing architecture. The front end is great. I mean, I really like the content library, the content type builder tools, and the concepts are great. In other words, centralized, management of content, especially where it's around lists of things like blogs, articles, videos, news, just all this stuff that we have to use third-party modules for, right? Easy DNN News, live, Mandeep's live article, or whatever it might be. And, liquid content sort of allows you to customize that. Because one of the problems with some of these modules is you place it on a page and you have to edit the content within that page, whereas liquid content's kind of portal-wide. You manage your content at the portal level, and then you can visualize it everywhere else. And the other great thing about it is it also separates the concerns from your users about content and HTML, because we've all been there, right? The users, you're trying to train end users on using a WYSIWYG editor, like, well, how do I float this image next to this and this and this and that? And it's either you have to go really complex with your panes, your theme ends up having to have 1,000 different, pane arrangements to do the layouts, or you just do the layout within the module by knowing a lot about HTML and CSS. Well, the nice thing about liquid content is you separate the content elements out, right? If it's an article, it's the title field, the summary, the author, the publish date, the body, or whatever, and you divorce that from the actual templating, the HTML that surrounds that. So liquid content to a theme developer is another extension of building out theme pages, when they build out visualizers. So it's a great concept, and there's multiple advantages to it, but right now it's only available in the Evo content product, which is, I forget what the price what it is. I think it's north of $10,000 a year per server, which is still pretty reasonable considering the competitive landscape.
Got it.
But pushing down liquid content to the platform is going to be awesome, because then we can all be on the same level with the same kind of article kind of system, right? We can all be using the same thing. The only problem is how do you how do you convert what's been built as a headless CMS, as a series of content microservices with a NoSQL backend running in Azure, into now back it down into a DNN core feature?
Got it. But I know it's coming to the platform, but it's not coming right away, is it? Because 9.2 will come out, but it won't have liquid content yet.
No, and the reason it won't is because of the complexity that Ash mentioned in that talk, whereas it was built as in a microservices architecture in Azure. It uses a NoSQL backend. I don't know if they're using the Azure or Mongo or something. So it was built as to be delivered through a services framework, and the data storage and everything is divorced from the CMS. So trying to get that into the platform is not as easy as just taking the evoke module and just refactoring it a little bit to make it a core module. It's not that simple. The other thing to note is that because of the way it was built as a separate service, structured content is very siloed from the rest of the CMS, and that was one of the problems that we've had when we implemented it. And by the way, I love it, but one of the problems is it lacks integration into the CMS because of the architecture, right? So the taxonomy is different. It doesn't hook into the vocabulary. The workflow is different. It doesn't hook into the content workflow model in the CMS. It didn't have localization initially. It didn't have, there's a whole host of things that it felt separated from the CMS. You know what I mean? From a feature standpoint.
Got it. Awesome. Okay. Good. Think for that. So I think that's about it for the DNN Summit. I still have a few more points here. I just want to acknowledge the three winners: first place, second place, and third place on my admin training. Annette Fowler, Vaishnovi Kamaraju, and Renee Cerulo. They keep up with me for 7 hours on my DNN admin training. At least we had some fun with some rubber chicken and rubber ducks. Whoever wants to stick around till the end of this video will see what I mean by that. People were throwing rubber chickens and rubber ducks in my presentation all the time. And you know why? If you stick around to the end. Aside from that, I want to send some love, as Mr. Clint Patterson asked me to do, send some love to Ron Miles, the Troubadour, DNN Troubadour, for the nice song that he put together. And if you stick to the end, you're going to see an encore presentation of Ron Miles in this video here. But you have to stick to the end. Last but not least...
So I want to...
Go ahead.
I want to ask Peter if there are any strange prehistoric creatures living in the Swiss mountains.
in Switzerland, or in prehistoric creatures in...
Other than you, Peter.
No, I didn't get it. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. The DNN Yeti from last year, and you'll have to watch the song, the Rock Slide Bolter, famous in the Rocky Mountains, and there are rumors that we may have some Irish songs joining us, right?
Well, exactly. The Irish are known. The Irish are known for breaking out in song after one beer. So I'm expecting a lot from Declan and others when we get there.
Not this one. Not this one. Perhaps cultivating age.
We can give a ticket to Ron Miles. He can create a new song, and he can go with the Irish mythology there to do some interesting twists there. But again, you're gonna see the song by Ron Miles at the end of this conversation here. Last thing that I want to mention, it's not live yet, but I did an interview with Gilbert Alpak. He's a guy from Cameroon that went to DNN Summit, and this is not the first time. He went last year as well. And I was talking to him over breakfast, and he told me this story about his DNN website that he has put together there for Cameroon. And it's about education, it's about social problems there, It's I mean, I found such an interesting conversation. I said, you know what, we have to sit down and I have to interview you about this story that you have around DNN, which I'm putting the label as doing good with DNN. It should be live in a week or so, and let's see. It's I think it's an interesting interview, an interesting story that he has to share there. Okay.
He's a very bright and energetic young man. I think his ultimate goal is to rebuild the educational system in his country. Turns out that he's going to be in the United States through August and is looking for things to do while he's here. So check out his website, and if anybody could use his services for a few months, get in touch with me and I'll put you in touch with him.
Yeah, one of the reasons why the video is not live yet is because I'm having problems with his website. The website, for some reason, doesn't seem to be live right now. So I'm getting in touch with him and I'm checking what's going on before I release the video. But yeah, I think it's an interesting story of DNN and doing some good out there in the world for Cameroon, for a community out there, in trouble. That's it. Can I put DNN Summit to rest? I'm off for it.
Next year.
Okay, so say bye, DNN Summit. I kept the registration poster again. Okay, putting that to rest. What else we have here? Before we get to you, Peter and Declan, we're gonna have a look at the blog posts in general, what went on, and there's a good segue for you guys. So I'm gonna start with the webinar that was hosted just this past week about theming with DNN, and we had there a few experts. We have there Jeff Barlow, Tracy White-Keller, and Ralph Williams. If you want to know anything about theming, skinning, what is new, what's interesting there in that space, you should definitely check this webinar from led by Clint. And again, I think it's a great way not only to get started with theming and skinning, but to see the cutting edge approaches, strategies that those guys are using there in the field. Okay, what else here? That was an interesting one. The other day I needed to download an older version of DNN, so I went to Codeplex and I saw that it was archived. However, you can download the entire history of files, of messages, everything. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna download this sucker here. 20 gigabytes of data, but everything is there. However, what's his name? George Alatrash. He copied over all the older releases of DNN, and now everything is available on GitHub as well. So this blog post, he talks about that and the fact that everything has been placed there. Any comments about that? Anybody on that one? Crickets, that's fine.
I just briefly remember that a couple of us chatted about it, hey, or someone came up and said, it came up on the radar and said, by the way, you realize this stuff is no longer downloadable and you have to download it like a 20 gigabyte file. And I'm on the reasonably high connection somewhere at work. And I thought I could give it a try, but actually that's not the bottleneck. It's Codeplex that has a horrible upload speed. So what happened was, in the end, I just gave up on that, and then we, a number of us got in touch with DNN Corp, with Alatrash, or at least he did, and said, can you do this? And they kindly agreed to do that, just for historic purposes, basically.
And who knows? I mean, sometimes we were supporting this week a few DNN 5 websites,
Exactly.
I run into version 4 occasionally.
You see, so sometimes we need the older ones. I mean, for different purpose, maybe to troubleshoot, maybe who knows. But it's good to be be there available. Moving on here, I want to bring two posts done by Jeff Barlow around DNN and CSS Grid working together. A very interesting post together with videos explaining how to use this skin object that he put together. I don't think it's released yet, and I'll be curious to know, Jeff, when this will be available, because it does seem to be very interesting to be able to use CSS grids and in a very simple way, and you could potentially only need to have one single pane on your page, and then you could say, you could add a module to a page to that pane, and then you could say, hey, this should span across this many columns and this many rows. So again, very, very interesting one. I'm curious to know and see when this goes live. Jeff, thank you very much for yet another contribution that you do. By the way, I'm assuming that this will be open, but again, it's an assumption. Maybe it's not, maybe it is. I don't have more information on that, but very good one. Two posts there from Jeff about using DNN in CSS. Great.
Yeah, for CSS Grid, I believe there are a small set of tutorials on CSS Grid in some of the DNN Creative tutorials that you have on your site.
Correct.
So if you want to understand what's actually going on with CSS Grid, it's a really nice set of tutorials.
That's very, very correct, Joe. Thank for reminding me about that. The last one here, which will be a good segue for our DNN Connect friends here, is another post. Now, it's funny because I haven't watched this interview, and I said I'm not gonna watch that interview because that will bias my questions, my points. So I'd rather not watch that, because I may repeat some questions, but that's fine. The more the merrier. I tend to think, Peter and Declan. So there was an interview done by a conversation done by Clint just about 2 days ago about he called it a pre-conference interview with Peter. And I don't know if there was anybody else there. Was there, Peter, or just yourself?
Declan.
Declan was there as well. So again, just to prove that I haven't watched the interview. Okay, so yeah, so if you want, you're gonna have that pre-conference interview, and we're gonna talk now about that as well. So you're gonna have two chances to watch and see those guys talking about DNN Connect. That will be happening this coming May, end of May, beginning of June. And I'm gonna start by asking, because I would assume that Declan, you were the one that pushed Limerick. Why Limerick? Cost, okay. Yeah. I like you already. One word, you answer the entire question. No segue. Cost. Okay. Unpack that.
No, last year, for the previous year, I looked at a couple of other places here in Ireland, and the main areas I could find were hotels and people being put up in hotels and the restrictions that would be placed on us within hotels. And it didn't really suit the type of conference that we run, which is more of a party, I suppose. So this year I asked the Tourist Board to help me, which they did, and they found and suggested Limerick University as a venue. It has all the facilities that we need for presenting. We have lecture theatres with all the facilities there for projectors and laptops and sound and anything else we might need. And then they also had student accommodation. So once we found that, there's not a lot else we need to add other than speakers and attendees.
Got it.
So hopefully it all works out.
Okay.
I don't see any reason why it shouldn't at this stage. Everything seems to be going smoothly. What do you think, Peter?
Well, I mean, I think it kind of sums it up, right? It's the DNN Connect is the no bullshit conference. For us, it's about getting I love the way he went right at the target and said, let's just it's about cost. It's true. Last year, as we did a round of venues, like Declan said, a couple of venues popped up around Dublin. Very nice, but hotels, 4-star hotels, etc. And I know our crowd, they enjoy being in a 4-star hotel, but at the end of the day, how much time do you really spend in the bed, in jacuzzi and whatnot, right? That's not the point why you're there. You're not there for the luxurious surroundings. You're there to meet your friends. And that is also how DNN Connect, or back in the day, DNN Europe basically got started. It was the realization that a whole bunch of people from the community were not attending the event because 1,500 or 2,000 or whatever was just too much. They couldn't afford to go. If you're an indie developer, that's a lot of money, right? So that prompted a couple of us to kind of rethink, like, so should we just like do something, how shall I put this? Not overly organized, just set a venue somewhere, ask if they have a room where we can all sit together, and then we chat about DNN and stuff, and we basically presented to each other the stuff that we were doing during the year, the kind of stuff that we find interesting, like, oh, so what are you up to, kind of projects or things that you're working on. If you're working on an open source module, you've got a chance to present that open source module to the crowd, and that, from there it kind of, evolved, and now we're becoming more of a, for a number of years now we're doing more of a classic kind of conference kind of thing, but we did not lose that edge of cost. So the idea has always been, you pay once and that's it. You get the conference, you get the hotel, you get your food, you get your drinks, and you're in. You can leave your wallet behind. Now we've done that for a number of years, and that's been a huge success. And we've managed to, with the help of sponsors as well, to keep costs relatively low, but obviously also looking at the venue. So this venue, a university, it's just perfect. I mean, who doesn't want, just a room with a bed, with a small desk, and I think you get a toilet and a shower as well for every room, so everyone gets their own room.
But let me ask you a question, Peter. About the venue. What I've noticed from the past few events from you guys is that there is this component of family as well. But by family I mean people sometimes they bring family together to those places, and if I'm not mistaken, Girona has a very good environment, or it's very suitable for having families there. Is that the same case in Limerick?
I'll let Declan field that one.
Yeah, accommodation in Limerick, the apartments, each room, they have what they call an apartment block, and it's broken down into units of 6 bedrooms with a shared kitchen sort of living area. And what the college have told me is that if families come, they will be allocated a unit of 6 rooms, and the rooms that they don't require within that will then be locked up, so that they have the security and safety for children and all that within the one confined area. The college itself is on an open parkland with plenty of space for walking, etc. It's convenient to the local city, Limerick. I was asked by Clint the other day about walking into Limerick, and I guessed at about an hour. Well, I asked Mr. Google last night, it's actually an hour and 8 minutes, but I would not recommend it. I wouldn't recommend it. If you're going into town, get the bus. It's as easy as that. So from a family point of view, I don't see any difficulties.
Got it. Now, no difficulties getting there, but small kids, they get bored I can talk about my kids. The first word that they tell me every day is, I'm bored. And I said, I don't care. I mean, go find something to do.
I'll be put it this way. I think, cutting through any pool. I mean, last year we had a swimming pool on site, and if you came by car, you took your car, you could easily drive into Barcelona. It's not, in that sense, that's not the kind of offering we have this year around. But mind you, you are in Ireland. If you're with your family, I guess you're going to rent a car, right? And then from Limerick, there's the whole coastline there to explore. There's lots of little villages. When I looked at, what the tourist officers emphasizes, what other people told me about going to Ireland is just the spectacular scenery that you have there. So if you come with small kids, by all means, take them walking. That's the kind of activity you're looking at. There are a few other activities as well, not too far away, things like zoos and whatnot. But you'll need a car, put it that way, to get there. It's not all walking distance.
Got it.
Yeah, agree.
Okay.
With a family, you need a car. But if you're just coming one or two people and fly into Dublin, there's a bus goes right from the airport, literally outside the arrivals hall, right from the airport onto the campus of the university in Limerick. It costs €15 each way per person and takes just under 2.5 hours.
Awesome.
It's not too far.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Also, let's talk a little bit more about the event itself. I think that's right now you guys are looking for speakers. Is that correct? I mean, are you in the process of looking for speakers? Can you unpack a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, currently the focus is on speakers. Obviously, we still have and we shouldn't forget that, our registration, early bird registration that will run out in a couple of days. So anyone who's still on the fence and wants to benefit from about €50 off that whopping €400 for 3 nights and 4 days at this place. Benefit from that and register before the end of February. At the same time, right now, we're also geared up for speakers. Myself and B-Sense are in charge of that. So if you have questions, myself or B-Sense will be able to answer those. Obviously, we're looking for relevant content at DNN. I named a few subjects in my chat with Clint.
Yep.
I think it'd be interesting, especially hearing the feedback from DNN Summit. It gives me some inspiration to say, okay, well, those sessions were apparently really sought after. I'm thinking of liquid content, for instance. I'll make sure that that gets presented at DNN Connect as well. Maybe give them a larger room if you tell them that it was the standing room only at one point, or standing room at some point. But there are other things happening and that are very relevant to our community. I'm thinking also of GDPR in Europe, right? The new law that specifies how you should handle sensitive data that comes into effect this spring. That prompts many of us to be involved in projects that have something to do with GDPR. So we may, I hope, to elicit someone to give a presentation on that, experiences and what the ins and outs are, what are generic to DNN. For the rest, it's any new relevant technologies that we're currently involved in, right? It's obviously there'll be some React and React Native, maybe for myself as well. I'm thinking of Docker. If someone wants to present something on that, by all means. But also your own projects, your own open source modules. We're still, eager to hear about those. If you've sunk some work in DNN and you feel it'll be nice to share that, then, by all means. Our audience, just to make this absolutely clear, because I had to guide someone, to counsel someone who came for the first time last year to our event, who was very, very, I'd say, tense about presenting. Like, I had to, they did like, I don't know how many trial runs before coming to the event. And I was like, look, you don't understand. Our audience is pretty friendly to the presenters. I mean, we are here among friends. There are no clients sitting there going like, oh, this person sucks, I'll never buy something from that person. You're presenting to your friends, among friends, and that is how we started, and it's one of the things I'd like to preserve for this conference is really feel at ease. Don't go overboard, don't overly prepare it to what you feel is necessary when you want to explain something to your friends, your DNN friends, like, how does this work? Obviously, because we are so focused on, we have a leaning more towards developers and small business owners. Our sessions tend to be technically at a more difficult level. Let's say we have fewer entry-level presentations at our event, I would think, than DNN Summit, because our audience, by and large, everyone knows how to make a module or how to start maybe skinning.
Let me ask you a question, Peter, about you said you are with friends and all of that, and that's great. DNN Summit, they reach out beyond the the usual suspects, the known faces. They reach out and they were able to get speakers that are not necessarily just talking about DNN itself, but going beyond there, and even more from a marketing standpoint. But unless that, they were able to get people that didn't even know about DNN.
Yeah, I'll quickly to react to that is we don't have a budget for speakers, so our speakers do not get paid.
Got it.
So although I'd love to attract. I wanted to hunt down once this guy from Smashing Magazine, for instance, who lives in Europe. I was like, oh, that would be great, but I'm sure it's going to be thousands and thousands of euros to get him over there. The thing is that all the other speakers, they don't get paid, right? They do this out of the passion for DNN. So for us, we have to kind of tread carefully. We for a few years, we have attracted external speakers, but who had an interest to talk to our audience. Right, so we've had Microsoft attend, so someone from Redmond would show up. We've had people from the Xamarin team in Barcelona show up and present stuff on mobile development using Xamarin. But again, their costs were covered obviously by the entity behind them, going like, hey, that audience seems to be of interest to us. So those kind of, we're open to that, but I don't have a magic wallet of money to splurge on. I don't know, bringing Barack Obama to give a keynote for our event or something. No.
Got it. Okay.
I'll talk to him, Peter.
If you do, put in a good word. Maybe he'll come for free. Tell him the beer's good.
He is just around the corner from Joe,
Yeah.
Okay.
So down the street.
Okay. So usually keynotes are a big thing. When we're on the DNN Summit. I mean, is that something that you look for as well in the DNN Connect events as well? I mean, is keynote a big thing for you guys? That's my question.
No, it has never. I'll put it this way. No, it has never been a big thing. So again, we don't have like stars that we attract. At the same time, when there is an opportunity, this year we'll see DNN Corp arrive with 5 people, no less than 5 people. Andy Trieber will be there. Obviously, he will present to the whole audience. I want Clint to have a presentation as well for everyone, held centrally. But that's, as far as we go with keynotes. If there's an opportunity, if there's someone that we're like, okay, well, that person needs to address the whole audience, then fine, we'll call it a keynote.
Got it. Just so I know, Joe, you are the only one here in the group that is going. I mean, of course, outside of Declan and Peter. Is that it?
I'm planning on going. I haven't signed up yet, but I will. I just heard the discount thing, so I'll be signed up this weekend.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Awesome. Very good. Very good.
Yes,
Come on, Scott. You can't be run out.
Okay, Scott, you're the next on this line of video feeds here. So
they never allow me to go every year, so I've got to do. Since I was there last year, I got to do. Hopefully, it's in Limerick again in 2019, but I wish I could go every year.
You'll be dearly missed. It was a lot of fun to have you over last year. Addison, you've not been to our event, so
I have not, and it will come a time that this will happen.
Next year, right?
It will come a time. It will happen.
This will be my first one too.
Yeah, let me tell you.
Treat me nicely.
My kids.
Oh, don't worry.
my kids, because they know, no, I go to DNN summits and all of that, and they say, but we want to go to Europe. We want to go to, see, you have two people here cheering for you,
Do you know one thing? Talk about cost again, but kids allowed they stay for free, right? We cover the cost for all kids. Under 16 is free. We dabbled about it, like, but how much would they eat? How much would they drink? And they take up a bed and everything. It's like, you know what? How many kids are going to have? We're not going to have 200 kids. It's fine. Kids just covered, right? So by all means, bring your kids.
And that works well for Peter.
It would be even better.
Joe, who is going with you? I mean, you're going alone, or?
I'm treating this one as a business trip, unfortunately. So,
okay.
Flying in the day before and flying out when it's over.
Got it. Okay, awesome.
But
go ahead.
Yeah.
Declan, Peter, before we move on beyond DNN Connect, anything else that you'd like to, highlight, emphasize?
No, I would invite everyone.
Thank you for the opportunity to publicize.
My pleasure, Declan. My pleasure. Anytime. And again, if there is, we're still 3 months away. So as things progress, if there is something that, if you guys have something to, for me to push forward, for us to push forward, by all means, just, I'll keep an eye. But if there's anything specific, just let me know, and I'll be more than happy to be commenting that through the course of the next 3 months. Okay?
Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks.
Awesome. Peter, but you're not off the hook yet. Because I'm going to take the opportunity that you are around just to talk a little bit about your advisory group. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah.
First of all, which group are you heading?
I'm heading the developer advisory group.
What is that? What?
Okay, so DNN DAG, as I guess the acronym would be. DNN DAG is the advisory group towards DNN Core for all issues concerning developers. Now, the thing is, I've defined it as follows: is we look at the development of extensions on DNN. I'm not branching into the development of DNN itself. I think that's the domain of the technology advisory group, right? They cover the platform. We look at how developers get started. What kind of information is there. So specifically, what I identified was documentation. That's one. So where can I find out how to start with this platform? Second is tooling. So things like template generators, or code generation through templates, or build tools for your stuff, or the other one is templates to set up your project. Right. So those are typically typical tooling areas where I think our group would have a focus on, like, is the tooling there that we need for developers to get started. So currently someone is working, for instance, on Yeoman templates for DNN, which I'm passionate about myself as well. And then the third one is awareness. So creating content on YouTube about how to develop stuff, etc. Now that overlaps with what Will's doing in the awareness group, so it tends to be somewhat of a lesser focus for us. But if you look at the whole, that is it. And before I get criticized for, hey Peter, isn't this just about modules? It's like, no, it is for developing all kinds of content on top of DNN. I consider skinning also development in this sense.
Awesome. And how are things doing there? I mean, do you want to comment a little bit on what kind of?
Well, currently, put it this way. Currently, it's not. How should I say? There are a couple of things we still have to work through, and one of them is that all technology leaders have been asked by DNN Corp to come up with a plan, and which specifically, outlines also the resources that we would require from DNN Corp. And currently, that is still, let's say, in progress. DNN Summit kind of came in between, so that kind of disrupted the flow of things a little bit. Everything was out, and things were focused somewhere else. I hope that now, now DNN Summit has happened and people have been able to talk to Andy directly, etc. We can go back and kind of have this plan more formalized in the near future. But there's no white smoke yet that we've got a decent plan with resources, etc., to do what we want to do. So the only thing that, the only thing that is concretely there at the moment is a Slack group that you can become part of with various channels where we discuss various items. And the idea is that the Slack group gives rise to various spin-offs of projects. That's one. And the other thing that went live not too long ago, something that I've been working on myself, is a site called DNNAPI.org. And I am still looking within my group, but also outside, for skinning resources to, kind of improve the maybe layout and look and feel of that site a little bit. But long story short, that site is a site where I wish that we can document the API, but in a fashion of the way MSDN does it. So you can basically browse through namespaces, classes, and methods, see the parameters and whatnot, and you can, if you register, you can actually edit those texts, and then we can try to build out basically what we know about the API, in my opinion.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you for that, Peter. So I know that you are about. It's about time for you, Peter. So yeah, again, Declan, Peter, again, it was great having you both. If you guys want to stick around, please stick around. If not, if you have to leave, by all means, you are allowed to leave.
Thanks, Anderson. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Declan.
Good to see you.
Mike, it's your turn here. Okay, I guess let me contextualize things a little bit here. I think it's a good place to start from. So I came to know Mike about 10 to 9 months ago. We started working in a particular project together, and at some point he said, what, Ed, let me show you something here that I have been working for a while. And we sat down. He walked me through a control panel for DNN, more towards DNN 8, DNN 7, but I think it can be used on DNN 9 as well. I said, what? I really like this. It's very well put together. Whenever you feel comfortable with sharing that with the community, with slightly, with the 5 or 6 people that watch this video, then let me know, and we can talk, and you can join one of our conversations. So that's what we have. Mike, how about you start by saying, just give me 30 seconds. When did you get involved with DNN, and why did you get involved with DNN?
Yeah, so I guess I'm a developer by trade. Got involved with DNN about 7.5 or 8 years ago, and I've been using it almost daily for that time, but I've never really gotten involved in any of the community discussions. I've always been browsing the forums. I've answered a few questions here and there, or put up posts, if I've had questions, but I never took a more of a deeper role in that. So over the last 6 months, I started looking to see how can I participate more and start to kind of share some of the things I'm working on, and vice versa. So that leads me to this product that I've started to build.
Yeah.
You mentioned DNN 7 and 8. I would have started this about 2.5 years ago when DNN 8 was the latest version, because from my day-to-day dealings with .NET Nuke and from watching others interact with it, it's very technical focused, and it's not easy for someone who's never used it before to jump right in and obviously and know exactly what to do in certain cases, because it gives you a lot of options. So I started looking at ways of how we can pare down those options so that for the common tasks or for content editors who might not care about admin settings or portal settings and host settings, and rightfully shouldn't, they can get in there and do their jobs quite easily, but at the same time, not alienating people who need to do more advanced work. So I started taking a little bit of a different approach here, and it's evolved quite a bit over the last 2.5 years. It started as a side project. Then .NET Nuke 9 came out, and I kind of put it on pause to see the direction that was going. And probably about the last 6 months, I started to get back into it. And I think we'll do a little demo.
Awesome. So just want to start by highlighting that Mike is a Canadian fellow as well. So now we have 2 Canadians and 2 US residents here. So we are square now, okay, guys? Mike
got rid of the Europeans. Huh?
Yes, we got. Well, it was pretty balanced, 2 Canadians, 2 US, and 2 from Europe. Mike, where do you want to get started? Do you want to go with a demo, and then I'll ask some questions throughout? Is that how you want to deal with that?
Yeah, that sounds good. I'll give a high-level demo of the tool, just skimming over as much as I can, and then if you have any questions about specific areas, we can dive right in after the fact and show you more there if you'd like.
So right now, I'm showing your screen right now, okay?
Okay. So what you see right now is just your generic, basic .NET Nuke installation, default theme, no content on the website. So I'll just go ahead and log in here. This is a DNN 8 site, just for reference. Okay, so I've logged in here, and you'll notice right away it's similar to a .NET Nuke 7 or 8 type of layout. You have a control panel across the top of the screen, and some of the features are in similar positions as you would be used to. So on the far right, you have the ability to toggle your edit mode and drill into more of the page settings. On the left here, replacing things like the admin menu and the tools menu, we have a dashboard option. We have the ability to quickly get access to favorite pages. We have a file and folder manager, and we have a page manager as well. Currently, I'm in edit mode, so that's why the pencil icon is lit up. If I came out of edit mode, quickly refreshes, and it's in view mode now, but we'll go back to edit. The main difference in the edit mode, in my mind, from .NET Nuke 7, 8, and 9 compared to this is I'm kind of combining layout mode and edit mode in one. So instead of having to drag and drop modules into content panes, and in some cases, if you're not used to the theme, you'll have to hover around different areas to find out where the content panes are. We're injecting these buttons, these plus icons, into every content pane available in the skin. So right away, you can find out, if I want a piece of content right here on the left, I just click right there on the left and it will add it right there. The other thing that this is really good for is I'm trying to be as device agnostic as possible. So whether you're using your desktop, a Surface Pro tablet with touchscreen like I'm on right now, or your phone, I want you to be able to add modules to a page. I want you to be able to navigate through the control panel. And by doing it in this approach, we reduce the complexities of having to worry about drag and drop with mobile devices and touchscreen devices and that type of thing. So let's give you a quick demo of how to add some content to a page, and then I'll go through the options in the control bar itself. So you can just pick any spot right here and just choose one here on the left. Clicking this will load up the add module screen. Right now, and it's very something to note is that this is currently in development. So some of the screens are missing things that I plan on having, and there's some UI tweaks here and there that are going to come up. But the general workflow and the way the navigation's implemented and features, that type of thing is pretty much the direction I'm going. But you'll see little tweaks over the next coming weeks and months in certain areas. This screen is very similar to what you have or what you're used to. You can add new module, which will show you a list of all the modules that your role has access to, or you could switch over and share a module from another page. For now, we'll just add an HTML module to the page. We can just search for it. If you don't know what this is, you can expand the title of the module. And if the module developer put a description into their manifest file, it would show up here to give you a little bit more feedback. Or if they had an icon associated with the module, you see that as well. Let's go ahead and add it to the page. Puts it exactly where it needs to go. The one thing that I find that differentiates this tool from some of the core stuff is, while it was very quick, you would have seen a message pop up there that would have explained what's happening. It's telling you that modules being added to the page, and after it happens, we're going to refresh the page for you. I find in some cases, if your website's been sleeping, or it's just a really slow site, if you drag and drop a module into a certain content pane, I've seen upwards of a minute sometimes before the page refreshes, and you don't know what's going on necessarily. So what I'm really trying to do is, no matter what you're doing in this experience, I'm letting the user know what's going on. If it's going to take a while, they have a message on the screen letting them know that it's going to take some time. Don't go click on other things and conflict there. So we'll go to the dashboard. The dashboard is configurable so that it can automatically show when you log in if you'd like it to. In this case, it didn't. But you'll see right away here, the dashboard is a collection of notifications and tasks for your website or your web portal that you're on, and also a summary of your analytics. In this case, we're pulling from Google Analytics, and it's showing you how many visitors, how many referrals, and the bounce rate for today.
So, Mike, Mike, so this is connecting to the Google Analytics account. Is that bringing information from there? Is it?
Exactly. So there's a configuration screen where you can put in your Google Analytics information, and there's a few more advanced things like API keys and things that you have to configure, but it is communicating with your Google Analytics account.
So one of the points of you pushing forward a new dashboard is not only to shuffle around where things are right now in the current control panels that we have, like persona bar, or the traditional ones on DNN 7 and 8, but it's also to bring more functionality to place as well, isn't it?
Exactly. So part of it is to change some of the IA of where things live, but this shouldn't be viewed as I'm not replacing or trying to rebuild all of the administrative features in DNN 7, 8, or 9. Now, other people have put a lot of attention and focus into those, and there's some very valuable stuff there. What I'm trying to do is augment a lot of the experience with some additional types of things. So we're not modifying any of the core here. I could easily uninstall this, and your site should continue to work as you'd expect it to. But we are pulling in extra little bits of information where we can, like analytics from Google. So you don't have to log into multiple websites to see some high-level information. On the other hand, we're not looking to replace Google Analytics. So you can do some very advanced things there. But from day-to-day content entry, even on my own website, I may just want to quickly log in and see how many people went to my site today. That may not be the most relevant information in some cases, but from a high level, we can see some of that types of data. What you see here is just a sample, and the UI will be changing a little bit, and there'll be about a top. There's depending upon who you ask and your reports and that type of thing. There are top 10 criteria of here's the top 10 things you should be looking for in your analytics. I'm going to be taking a subset of that and putting it into the dashboard here. So it's not just going to be the 3 options you see now, but there will be some more coming in the future.
Awesome.
The other main thing that's a little different is the notifications and tasks. DNN has built in messaging and notifications. This is a little bit different. So this is one of these features that's kind of augmenting the site. Right now, from the top, you'll see that there's a message that says this website's been updated and you're running on version 0.0.41. You can read the release notes or you can dismiss. This update capability, so typically in .NET Nuke, you download the install package, you install it, and you're done until you do that again. In my findings, even in my own websites, that can be quite a tedious process to maintain updates to modules or control panels and that type of thing. So what this implementation does, I called it a hybrid cloud implementation. So you are installing the core control panel into your website, but that doesn't install all the features. It's actually interacting with a cloud server pulling in some things so that I can change the layout of these screens in some cases, and you don't have to upgrade the whole control panel. That does, pose some supportability and stability issues. So the way that the control panel is designed is it's running in a sandbox. It's an iframe. Your web page cannot talk to it and vice versa directly. So I could put any type of styles into the control panel and you shouldn't see your web page pick those up and vice versa, just due to the way it's architected. Also, part of that hybrid cloud, I can update a list of rules essentially that your website can pull down and check for. Under no circumstance are we storing your website's data. The control panel will reach out and pull down little bits of information from time to time. So for example, with the security alert here, there's a rule set up that says, you know what, check to see if the site has SSL turned on. If it's not, show a notification. So there's a real big group of notifications that I have configured. These two I'm only showing today. But for things like best practices across your website, from configuration, from content entry, accessibility, SEO, that type of thing, trying to be proactive and show you in this admin experience recommendations.
Mike, let me ask you a question. So what you're saying is that, of course, the tool will evolve over time. Well, you're going to create more. It will become more comprehensive. It will add, it will change it. It either bug fixes or enhancements. So it updates itself, correct?
Correct.
Now, I want to ask about that. We have seen from third-party providers in the past that, hey, maybe their server went down and maybe that endpoint is no longer there. Are we covered for a case like that? Like say,
absolutely.
Yep, go ahead.
Absolutely. So this is not real time. Everything that is running in your website is running on your web server. It's all cached locally. So we are running on Microsoft Azure. If we got to a point where we had scale issues or network connectivity issues, your website should still continue to run. You wouldn't get the latest and greatest updates in that moment, but you wouldn't be stuck in the mud either. You'd be able to do your job. The other thing is that there's always the ability to roll back or just change the setting, I should say, to go back to another control panel option if you got into a point where something catastrophic did happen. So yeah, you're definitely covered from that type of angle.
Perfect. If I may ask you, do you want to show those warnings about, because I think that there are some SEO checks and bounces. Do you want to have a look at that?
Yeah, for today, we'll just keep those ones aside.
Okay.
That could get into a really big conversation, but there's lots of nuances there. So if we keep it high level across, and then maybe in the future when that's
Makes sense.
A little more targeted examples. So just move to some of the other options here. From the dashboard, you can get the tools menu, which is very similar to DNN 7 and 8. If you go in here, you can get access to your administrator and host pages, and then a few things like clearing your page cache, your sitemap cache, or starting your application. The administrator page is very similar to the current DNN 7 and 8, just a list of those pages, pulling up the page descriptions if they exist. Then you also have quick features to log out of your website, and then also to get help. The way this works is that any screen, if it has help available from our hybrid cloud model, it's going to pull those help documentation directly into the control panel. So you don't have to go search another website. Everything is context specific. You have questions regarding the dashboard. In this case, there's only one item in this list, but you can easily click in here and find out what it is. Versus, if you're trying to edit a page and you're in the page management screen and you don't know what a certain setting does, you don't need to go somewhere else to find it. You can find it right within the context of where you're editing your data.
Got it.
Other thing we have here is user favorites. This feature is quite similar to something that does exist in 7 and 8, where you can bookmark admin or host pages in the control panel. But what this does basically is let you bookmark any page in your website. So if you have a page set up for blog management or a custom module, then you can quickly bookmark it here, in this case, the home page, and it'll always be there for your user account. So you can quickly get back to some common tasks if you'd like. If you don't want it, obviously you can remove it from the list. And once again, we're consistently telling you exactly what's happening here, letting the user know what's going on.
Perfect.
The file manager, so I'm just gonna, this one's still heavily in development. So the UI is changing at the moment, whereas some of the favorites is pretty hardened. But the general idea here is going to remain the same. You get a list of all the folders in this portal and then all the files. Right away, we're not, it's not a tree view like some other implementations may have. That's because the control panel is it's responsive. So if I start to shrink it down, everything adapts. So we're building for touch, we're building for small screens, for mobile, for simple user experiences. You'll notice the info message at the top of the screen. This is another one of those kind of hybrid cloud features where from time to time, we may pull down little tips and tricks or just general information about where you are. In this case, we're just telling you that, hey, this is the page manager, and you can add, create, delete, view pages and files and folders. Other than that, the main thing here that's different versus the platform version is that we're enabling file versioning by default. So file versioning exists in the core platform, but it's not exposed through the core digital asset manager. So if I open up this file's properties here, it'll give you some general information about the name of it, the URL, how big it is. But this file history button at the top here will also give us a summary of all the versions of this file. So for instance, if you've uploaded a file and overridden something, it's going to keep the old version of it, so you can always come in here and revert back. In the case of a Word document or PDF, if you don't remember the contents, you can download that temporary version while you're logged in and see what it is, or you could delete specific things and that type of thing.
Mike, let me ask you a question. I don't know if you plan to touch that or not, but again, let me know if you plan to touch on that. But how, because we have to look at the future as well. I mean, you are mentioning a few times DNN 7, DNN 8. How this behaves if you have tested that, if you have done that, how this behaves with DNN 9?
Yep. So what you're seeing, everything that I'm showing today runs on DNN 7.4 and above, including 8 and 9. The biggest difference would be with 7 and 8, your administrator and host pages are just pages in your site. So it's really easy to integrate. Versus DNN 9, we now have persona bar extensions. So once again, this tool isn't meant to replace the persona bar extensions by any means, but to augment it. So there is, I don't have a demo for today for it, but there is DNN 9 persona bar extension support so that whoever's building those types of extensions, they can work with this tool as well. So it's not meant as a replacement, but to augment.
Got it. But and again, it might have been already implemented. It may not, but at least it's in your plans. How this would look like with a persona bar? Will the persona bar be there, and this bar will be on top, or it will replace?
Okay, sure. Yeah. So the persona bar, when this is enabled, will not be on the screen at all.
Okay.
There's a couple of different things I'm looking at. I have a capability where I can actually temporarily disable this panel and have the other one load up. And then you can toggle back and forth between the two. So that is probably the option on day one. I am looking at running the extensions though inside of this interface. So that's a little more complex. I have some proof of concepts at this point, but it's not hardened yet. So there's going to be at least the fallback of being able to click a button, pull up the persona bar, you can get to where you need to get to, and then go back, versus running them inside, which is definitely the longer term goal. The big thing to note here, though, is I'm focusing on what I feel are the common experiences that most users do in .NET Nuke. Creating pages, uploading files, placing content, that type of thing. Not all of the administrative tasks. So, there's tools in the persona bar. I know DNN Prompt is coming out as one of them in the new one. There's other tools that can do a lot of the heavy advanced user tasks. For this tool, I'm building this tool to hopefully, as many people like it would use it, but to the people that if I'm an agency, if I'm a developer and I build you a website, I want to give you something that's so easy to use. I'm building it for the content editors, for marketers. There's absolutely some things that more advanced users like ourselves would like. The notifications, for instance, I know I keep long checklists of things I have to do when I'm building web apps and websites, but we forget things. We're human. So I'm trying to put all of those best practices that I know and that I've acquired over the years into a tool like this, so that while I'm building a site, I can't forget to turn on SSL. Or my page names are way too big, but I just didn't remember that Google thinks that 30 characters or whatever it is the issue. So have this tool be proactive, only not for myself, but for contenters as well.
Got it. Is there any other feature that you want to share at this point, Mike?
Yeah, I'll just quickly just go over the page manager, just do a quick look at it. It's very similar layout to the file manager. We're giving you all the pages at the root of your website. The UI is going to change a little bit here, but as you can see in some cases, this will tell you how many child pages you have. So we can drill into here. And as you navigate through your page hierarchy, I'm currently in the product section. It's pulling out the page description, the URL, and it's going to add some more high-level information into this screen and then show the child pages. Instead of dragging and dropping where you want things to go, you navigate to where you want things to go. I want to add a page here. I can click the plus, add a new page, and following that theme of simplification, when you create a page at this point, the two base things you need to know are what's the name of the page and what theme do you want on the page. So we can create a page for DNN Hero and press create. It's been successfully created, and there it is. So we're just really focusing on simple interactions, speed, performance, and letting people know exactly what's happening all the time. Another couple quick little things would be the recycle bin. So in this case, you can see there's a page recycle bin that exists in other implementations. The current core recycle bin, I believe, has all of the pages, all of the modules, users, all in one screen, where I'm bringing this into a more contextual manner so that I'm in pages, I want to see the pages that have been removed. Or if I'm on the page settings, I want to see the modules on this page that have been deleted instead of going somewhere else out of context of what I'm doing. So in this case, I could easily come down here, delete the DNN Hero page. It's going to tell us exactly what's going on. Not that it's deleting it, but it's putting it in the recycle bin, and you can always restore it, giving that the user who doesn't know .NET Nuke inherently, like we do, information as to what's happening. It's been deleted, or moved to the recycle bin, I should say, and you can now go to the recycle bin, and from here either permanently delete it, or because we love DNN Hero so much, we're going to restore this, and there you go. It's been moved out back to where it was supposed to be.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's not everything, obviously, but that's a high-level overview of kind of the direction I'm going with this. It's absolutely still in development. Pieces like the page manager are a little more along the way, but I hope that gives you a taste of what I've been working on.
I have 3 points before I let you go about Shine. It's called Shine, correct?
Yeah, currently it is. It's kind of a code name.
Okay.
It may stick and become the name of it, but it's temporarily being called Shine.
I like it. First one is, and again, you can be as short as you want here, but what is the vision long term for the tool, Mike?
Yeah, so right now, I did originally build this to help support myself in what I do. I do consulting work with clients and have continually come up with the same types of behavior, which is how do I do something, which should be really simple. So it was being built to augment my business. It probably will turn into a commercial product at some point, but not yet. And I don't know what that would look like, to be honest, at this point in time. I do have a public preview of this that I'm going to be releasing in about the next 4 to 5 weeks, which would let you download it, install it on your site, free of charge, of course, just to gain some user feedback and see if it's something that people would like to use, and can give me some feedback along the way.
Got it. So you answered another question that I had, which is when this would be going live. So you said about 4 weeks. There might
for the first week of April. So for you to be able to download it into your site, there is a demo that will be available, an online demo, so you can go to my website and play with it on a test website without installing it yourself. That should be online sometime next week.
Awesome. And the last one here is, I don't know if you may not have this defined yet, but what is the business model there? What is the model that you are looking for here?
Yeah, so I obviously don't have pricing details at this point to talk about, but the licensing model based on the way it's architected, where part of the intelligence lives in the cloud, excuse me, it will be a licensing type model, whether that's a yearly fee or monthly, I haven't decided yet. But the one thing I can say is that model will be completed in such a way that it's not going to be a huge cost burden to a lot of organizations. I'm going after small medium-sized businesses that want some of this type of behavior, but can't necessarily invest in thousands upon thousands of dollars for a tool set. So I'm definitely trying to go after smaller businesses who really need to benefit from this type of stuff. We talk about accessibility and SEO. Not everyone can afford to hire people to do ongoing maintenance of those types of things. So at least being able to know what's going on to some extent without being in the dark, that's where I'm going.
Last one here. Do you foresee, and if you don't, I would entice you to try to foresee something like that, but do you foresee an introductory level offering that could give, that people could benefit freely from I'm not saying with the whole suite of options, but do you see a scaled down version of this to be?
Yeah, I've nothing concrete at this time. I'm playing around with a few ideas. I absolutely do not want to alienate people from trying this tool. So there's going to be some type of introductory offer that will be available.
Awesome. Again, Mike, thank you very much for the sneak peek here. Keep us posted, keep me posted as you go along on the next chat. If you have a demo to be put out there or a release version that you want to put out there, by all means let me know and I'll be pushing that forward in the
Absolutely. And I really appreciate you giving me some time to show us off today.
Awesome. Guys, Scott, Joe, any questions there? I mean, anything there? I mean, any thoughts there?
Yeah, my only thought was, my only thought was that, we've been starting to develop some custom persona bar extensions for the DNN 9 persona bar. And yeah, if you can, the solution in DNN 9 to actually replace the persona bar and be able to pull in those React persona bar modules would be ideal. Because I actually like the way your UI looks in many cases better. So
thank you.
Yeah, kudos to you. And but that's really what I would push for, because one of the things about persona bar extensions that appeals to me is to be able to reuse React components that DNN's built or potentially you or others have built, because I don't want to build a file upload selector tool or an image selector or whatever, validation and all that stuff. So those are the type of things that would be, if we could continue to use those, but it gets pulled in through your tool, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. The proof concepts I've looked at doing are loading the persona bar extensions into basically an iframe inside of my tool, sandbox down so that there's no conflicts between the two and that type of thing. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's room for something to be out there.
Joe, anything there from your side?
Not for me.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so I guess that let's keep moving here. I still have two other quick topics here. Just a quick mention about the last DNN tips that I have put out there. One is about it's about a DNN 9.2 sneak peek. So if you want to have a look at what's cooking on DNN 9.2, you can have a look at that one. And the other one is a troubleshooting technique that we just used that last week to sort it out a problematic upgrade that we had. So which basically is a combination of having a fresh web config and merging and replacing that with the upgraded site to see if if the problem has gone away. Again, you can have a look if you are interested on some advanced troubleshooting techniques. I'm all about troubleshooting. A lot of my admin presentation during the DNN Summit was about troubleshooting, because that's what we do day in, day out. And when I find an interesting strategy, I will try always to share out there with everybody. Last segment here is about what's new, what's exciting. I'm going to start with myself, and then I'll jump to you guys if you guys have anything new and exciting. Myself here, this is what's new. This is what is exciting to me. I mean, I'm trying.
I don't know what that is. That's
It looks like a small coffee maker to me.
This is a Google Home. This is a Google Home.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes, and I'm trying to create. I mean, I could just say, "Hey Google, give me a timer, 25 minutes timer." However, I want to do, "Hey Google, start a Pomodoro," and I want a Pomodoro timer to come up from my Google device. So that's what I'm tinkering that's what I'm tinkering right now. That's the reason why I like so much the Alexa. However, it's a very different, environment there, but hey, that's what I have. That's what I'm gonna try to build. A Pomodoro Google Home timer. Guys, your turn. Joe, Scott, Mike, and I'm gonna start with you, Joe. Joe, anything exciting new?
Well, I'm excited about going to Ireland in late
that's
May, early June. And I'll just give a shout out to Mike this morning. I sent you guys an email last night responding to the reminder that we were going to do this morning, and put a few sentences in about a problem I was having. Mike sent me an email, which wasn't quite the answer to the problem, but it got me thinking. And basically, I tried to move a site to a local server to do some work on it. And when I start up the site, it throws all kind of errors about can't find files. Files don't exist. And Mike's suggestion led me to just delete the IIS website. I had reused an old one and rebuild it, solve the problem right there. So sometimes asking a question, getting an answer that doesn't answer the question but gets you thinking is really useful. So again, the greater DNN community can help you. So
and it's becoming.
Don't be afraid to ask stupid sounding questions. That's my specialty, and I often get responses that help guide me down the right path. So I continue to be excited about being a member of this community.
And again, it's becoming bigger by the minute here. I mean, again, Mike, it's very good to see refreshing new faces in the space, and again, you are more than welcome. And by the way, Joe was mentioning Mike. Mike, he's talking about Mike that is here right now with us. Mike Smeltzer.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay.
that guy right there.
This guy here. Scott, anything from your side exciting you?
No, not really. I'm just trying to learn some stuff here. I actually was going through Stephen Cullum's, take-home bits from the presentation last weekend. So trying to make sense of F# Fable and some of that other technology stuff. So I'll let you know when I get a handle on it.
Awesome. Mike, aside from Shine, what else is Shine for you? What else?
I'm just really excited to start taking more active role in the community. Seeing some of the tools being discussed, like liquid content coming to the core, which I'm really looking forward to. In the past, with DNN 8, they looked at bringing structured content over and had that running to some extent, and then it died down. So I'm glad to see a rejuvenation there. And also looking forward to attending the summit or the Connect conference in Ireland.
Awesome. Yeah. So again, guys,
let me just say something about structured content and liquid content. My absolute favorite module is Too Sexy Content, which is structured content in the DNN platform today. And I would be remiss not to mention that there's something called open content. And I just don't know enough about it that others I know speak well of it.
Okay.
So if you're interested, for people who are interested in these concepts, you don't have to wait.
Very good, very good. And I just have an inside note here. Myself and Mike, we are very close to open content at this point in time. Okay, so that's an inside joke, but I'll leave it up to you guys to guess what that might be. Anyway, guys, we are good here. 125, 126 minutes. I mean, I don't know who will be watching this, but now we have an encore presentation of When the Avalanche Comes by Ron Miles, the DNN troubadour. Stay with him, and we meet again at the end of March. May we have an earlier spring. That's it. Bye, guys.
Now listen up, folks, to my sad story about the DNN Yeti and his quest for glory. He's working at the club, make his butt go swish. Who'd have thought he'd be eaten by a giant, land-dwelling, cryptoid, prehistoric fish? You see, he'd spent his day learning at the DNN Summit, getting tips on how to use the new command prompt a ton. It helped him up his game, made his admin smile. But he ended up buried in a tumbling, icy, ichthyosis rock pile. 'Cause when the avalanche comes and it's rolling down that slope, and you're trapped in its path, and you lose all hope, there's a scaly, toothy beast riding down among the boulders. You're about to be devoured by the slide rock boulder. Cryptozoology. I knew the Yeti and its ape-like biology, but the Macrostoma saxoparumpus, well, it sounded like a bunch of Latin ridiculosus gobbledygumkus. But it turns out that it's a terrifying fish on the slopes of the Rockies that looks in its tail to grip crisps in a lock. It's got a gigantic mouth filled with sharp pointy teeth and a pair of tiny eyes to stare you down while the ground falls away underneath. And then the avalanche comes and it's rolling down that slope, and you're trapped in its path and you lose all hope. And there's a scaly, toothy beast riding down among the boulders. You're about to be devoured by the slide rock boulder. Andy Treven warned the Yeti about the downward slope so the community would save us. The Yeti said nope. He went out on his own, didn't worry about the beast, and he didn't get back to the ecosystem. And he became the fish's feast. Now this is the part where I need to thank Clint Patterson, Will Stroll, so many other people in the DNN community who have helped me out so many times, made my career much more successful than I ever imagined it would be. I truly believe that this DNN community makes us all stronger. And if I was on my own, well, if the avalanche comes and it's rolling down that slope, I'd be trapped in its path and I'd lose all hope. 'Cause there's a scaly, toothy beast riding down among the boulders, and I'm about to be devoured. But when the avalanche comes and it's rolling down that slope, don't get trapped in its path and don't lose our hope. 'Cause I truly believe if we stand shoulder to shoulder, together we can all avoid the slide rock boulder. Thank you, DNN Summit.